My father worked in a large retirement home for a little over 30 years. In fact, he finally retired when he was 95. They were still paying him up until 95. And he told me on more than one occasion, he says, I just like to work with old people. Now, he wasn't very young himself. But one day he was walking down the corridor of this large complex. And as he was passing a door, he noticed that the door was open. And he just paused and looked in. And here was a woman on the side of her, sitting on the side of her bed, and she was crying. And he was in public relations, and so he just stopped and just stood in the doorway and said, no, my dear, why are you crying? What's wrong? Can I help you? And through her tear-stained eyes, she said to him, she says, sir, if only I knew where I was going after I die. Sad, isn't it? Had lived her entire life, was now almost at the end of it, and she still didn't know that all was well for eternity. Sadly, there's an awful lot of people, and that's what marks their life. And I don't know if you've ever asked that question, but you see, that is the reality that faces all of us tonight. It's been said that in the midst of death, God always speaks about life. And in the midst of life, God always speaks about death. And I well remember as a university student, over 50 years ago now, it was a long time ago, that it was eternity that really bothered me, that brought me up to a stop. I had become aware that death was an appointment that I was ultimately going to meet. I wouldn't be able to put it off. And I realized that it could come far sooner than what I anticipated. I was made aware that there were destinies of heaven and hell, and I would be in one of those two places. And I knew I wasn't going to heaven, so I knew that I was going to hell. And I knew that those destinations, those destinies would be forever. They'd be fixed, they'd be unchanging. And I trust that as we look at this question, that you will become aware personally that your eternal destiny is the greatest issue of your life, and that you might ask yourself, if I don't obey the gospel of God, where will I be forever?